So now we're going to take a look at design tools. There are obviously loads of design applications and utilities out there, more than we could go through in this short course right now. So we figured the best thing that we could do would be to show you a selection of what's out there, tools that you can get hold of, tools available at all sorts of different price points. There literally are lots and lots of design apps and utilities. Before we take a look at those tools, though, I just need to make a really important point, and that is that when it comes to designing stuff for your website, pick the right tool for the job. Don't feel obliged to use the tools that you see other people, including us, you see other people using. Make your own decision based on your own needs. If you're not going to be doing a lot of design yourself, then, for example, there's no point in spending hundreds of dollars on a tool like Photoshop. It's like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. You'd be far better off getting started using a free application. We'll be showing you a couple of examples of free apps in just a moment. And those apps can often do pretty much everything a basic user would want. So don't feel obliged to go out and spend a ton of money on a tool that you're not really going to get the most out of. So here are a list of some of the tools that you might want to consider depending on your experience and your expertise and your budget. Now, I happen to use Photoshop because I do a lot of design, but the takeaway, as I say, is that you need to choose something appropriate for your needs and your budget. There are pluses and minuses to each of these. For example, Photoshop, as well as being expensive, takes a pretty long time to learn. It's got a steep learning curve. Other tools like Photo Impact and PaintShop Pro and Serif Draw Plus, Thumbs Plus and GIMP, even a couple of online tools like Avery and Sumo Paint are all worth taking a look at to see if they do what you feel you're going to need. They're certainly well worth a look. So we're going to quickly take a skim through some of these apps and a few of their features just to get a feel for what's out there. Let's call up a few sites right now. So to start us off, here we have the website for Photoshop. Now, it's got all sorts of bells and whistles, features. It's full of filters, effects, manipulation tools. It's a pretty complicated design application, about as complicated an app as you're ever going to want to use. And there is a whole heap of stuff in this software that I'll tell you now you'll never use. So I guess it's at the upper end of the scale in terms of apps that you could use, in terms of design apps that you might want to check out. Is rather expensive, though. At the last check, I think it was around $300. Photo Impact by ULAID. It's Photo Impact X3 at the moment, and it's a pretty solid application. I've used this quite a lot myself, and it does pretty much everything that you could want it to do. Let's just check out the price just so that you have an idea. So there you go, a significant saving on Photoshop, and yet for 90% of people, probably that's going to do more than enough for anything that you might want to do in terms of graphic design work for your website. So only less than $70. Another is PaintShop Pro. It's a photo editing software, image editing software. You can edit more than just photos, and is again similarly priced at about $70. You can do all sorts of stuff in it, though. Let's just check out the feature set. So organizer, batch processing, smart carver, object extractor, all sorts of stuff there. But you can quickly come to this site. It's Coral.com. Coral are a long-standing expert in design. They've been around for a long time, and you can check out the site and see what sort of features the app has. Another is Serif's Draw Plus. They actually, I think, have a free version. That's right, a free starter version, and you can upgrade that then to the full sort of professional version for a price. Let's just see what that price is. So that's £80 sterling. Let's change that to US dollars just to see what the price in US dollars is. $99.99. Okay, so a little bit more than the other two that we just looked at, but again, Serif, great reputation in terms of design apps, so worth taking a look because you've got all sorts of features there too, feature packed. So worth having a look at that too. Thumbs Plus, this is an interesting little app. It's more than just a sort of a thumbnail image database. It's got all sorts of little features in there for example, optimizing images, converting images in a batch process to other formats. You can do some simple image manipulation as well in Thumbs Plus. It's kind of a handy piece of software, worth a look. It's not really as fully featured as some of the design apps we were looking at a moment ago. Certainly if you've got any significant quantity of images that you're looking to work on, it can be a time saver for you. GIMP is probably where most of you watching this course right now are going to want to start, because GIMP is one of, if not the most sort of fully featured client-side applications that you can download that's free. It's completely open, so you can go ahead and download it, try it, and see how you get on. And I've used GIMP many times in the past and found it to be actually very powerful. So if there's a top tip here that's going to save you a few $100, I would suggest go download a copy of GIMP, try it out for your image editing, and see how you get on. It's got a huge user base already, a very popular piece of software and worth looking at as an alternative, at least as a starting point. And now finally, I'm just going to call up a couple of online image manipulation tools. The first is part of a suite of tools by a company called Aviary. The image editing application, if I just click on this, is actually online, unusually. So you can actually, without downloading any software, you can actually start working on your image content. Let me just move this. So as you can see, when it loads, you get what looks like a client-side application. It's slightly reduced feature set, but it's pretty powerful for an online tool. Of course, you will actually need an internet connection to use this. But as you can see, I can create an image. I could have opened an image as well from my hard drive. I can edit that image. I can do all of the basic functions that you'd want to do. So in terms of transforming it, I can distort it, rotate it, flip things. I can obviously crop things. I can resize things. I can save things and compress them on saving. So the basic image editing functions that you need from a tool like Photoshop or Photo Impact or any of the others we've just looked at, you can actually use these online tools to do the same. So that's Aviary. I'm just going to show you one other web-based tool that's called Sumo Paint, who claim to be the web's best image editor, hands down. You can also manipulate image content just as you can in the other apps online using Sumo Paint. And as you can see, it's a pretty quality app. It looks well designed. It doesn't look like a web-based app at all. And you've got a great tool palette here, which is indicative of the depth of feature set. If I just flip through some of the settings here, you can see that we've got some manipulation stuff there. We've got selection options like feathering and expanding and contracting the selections. You've got layer effects. We can do a lot of stuff that you can do in Photoshop. You seem to be able to do here. Let's check out obviously adjustments, brightness, contrast, and so on, colors, and some filters too. So you've got some pretty powerful features here for an online application. This is pretty awesome, in fact. So I would suggest definitely having a look at this particular application. This is by far a better app, in my personal opinion, than the Aviary online editor. So if online editing is your thing, if you want to try that out, I would suggest starting with Sumo Paint. If I just minimize that for a second, if I just click on the Upgrade to Pro option on the Sumo Paint site, let's just check out what the current price is to upgrade. So only €19. That's pretty darn cheap for a half decent application. So definitely worth checking out. Try the free version, see how you get on. If you like it, if it works well for you, if you've got a decent net connection, then I would suggest that that's possibly your next best option, perhaps following GIMP. Okay, so the takeaway here from this section is start out with the cheap or free options. So either GIMP or Sumo Paint as a starting point, I would recommend. And from there, see how you get on. If your needs warrant it, you can always look at investing a little bit more later on in perhaps starting with Photo Impact or Paint Pro or Draw Plus. Don't rush out there and buy a copy of Photoshop, because you'll end up having to spend ages figuring out how to use it. And as I say, most of its feature set you'll never need for the kind of design that you're likely to be doing.